practice, this short practice, is going to focus on assisting you to modify how you practice on the mat if you suffer from low blood pressure, or sometimes known as hypertension. And what we want to do is, if we have low blood pressure, we want to avoid quick changes of pressure to the brain. And we also want to always move on an inhalation. The lower your blood pressure is, the slower you want to move. So if you come into a class that has a lot of fast-moving sun salutations, instead of feeling that perhaps that class is not for you, what I'd like to do is show you ways that you can modify the sun salutations so that you can still join in a class and get all the benefits of the practice. Because yoga is really good for regulating your blood pressure. What you want to do if you suffer from hypertension or low blood pressure is do poses that stimulate the kidneys, and also you want to do inversions that bring more blood flow to the brain. There's top 5 poses that I would recommend for when you're practicing with your low blood pressure, or if you feel that you have particularly low blood pressure on any one day, then these 5 poses will be really good to do. We'll start with a pranayama, which is KAPALIBHATI breath, and then there's fish pose, shoulder stand, PAWANMUKTASANA, which is happy baby pose, and PAWANMUKTASANA, which is standing forward fold with the hands underneath the feet. We'll start with the KAPALIBHATI breath, and this is translated as shining skull breath. And KAPALIBHATI really helps to increase breath to the brain. And we often use it before meditation to help us to focus, but you can also use it to begin to regulate your low blood pressure. So if you come to sit comfortably and you place your hands on the knees and close down the eyes. KAPALIBHATI breath is a short, sharp exhale and an involuntary inhale. And you want the exhale to happen in your core. So if you place your hands onto your belly, drop the shoulders, inhale. And that short, sharp exhale, you pull your navel back in, and that forces the breath out through your nose. And then the inhale, that happens naturally, and then you force it back out. Now, very often in a lot of yoga classes, KAPALIBHATI breath gets practiced very quickly, and you're coming to fast successions of the breath, and that's okay. But for the purpose of today, we're going to do it a little bit more slowly and more controlled. And as you cultivate the practice, so you can begin to speed it up, we slow it down so that we don't get movement throughout the body. We can maintain a movement in the belly, and also that we begin to bring more blood flow to the brain a little bit more slowly, especially if you're having your low blood pressure. So placing the hands on the knees, close the eyes, maybe you bring your hand onto your belly, inhale normally, fast exhale. So we're going to continue with that, and we'll do about 10 or 15 rounds, and then just pause for a couple of normal breaths, repeat and pause and repeat. So when you're ready, let's go. And release. Just drop your chin for a moment. Inhale deeply. Soften the shoulders as you exhale. Let's do our second round 15 times. So it's that strong inhale. Force the breath out on the exhale. Involuntary inhale. And then just drop your head, return to a normal breath. And then very mindfully bring the head back up to center. Last round like this, inhale. And release. So remember, you can practice this, doing as many rounds as you like, drop the chin. Some normal breath, and perhaps you can begin to feel the stimulation of the blood flow to the brain. Just return to a neutral spine. Fantastic, do that often, whenever you can, to regulate your blood pressure. Mindfully, if you're suffering from blood pressure, low blood pressure, take your time to mindfully come up to stand. And a good way to do it is to really roll up. So we're not forcing pressure to the head, we're rising up slowly, and when you get to the top, take a moment here just to regulate. Good. So coming to the top of your mat, for your modified flow, you bring your big toes to touch. Inhale, stretch the arms up overhead, lift and look up. Now bring your chin to your chest, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Slowly rise up. Chin to chest. Roll the shoulder blades back, turn the palms to face forward. So that's if you feel okay doing it that way, that's a great way to modify with a slow rolling up and down. Another way to practice is inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, take the hands together before the heart in prayer. Bend your knees and come all the way down into a squat. Place your hands on the floor. Step your right foot back. Step your left foot back, coming into your plank pose. And then as you practice chaturanga, you can have the knees down and come to cobra in the first few rounds. And then later work through to upward facing dog, mindfully to downward facing dog. Now downward facing dog is an inversion, and inversions are really good for regulating the pressure through the body. Staying here. And then to practice coming out of the sun salutation, step your right foot forward, followed by the left. Bend your knees and come down into Malasana. Take your hands into prayer and then slowly rise up and release the hands by the side. Let's do that again. To practice, inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhale, hands into prayer. Your chin is slightly tucked. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knees. Come right down into your squat. Take your hands to the earth. Step your left foot back. Step your right foot back. Choose mindfully your variation of chaturanga. So perhaps you keep the knees up, go to low chaturanga, upward facing dog, energizing. Don't throw your head back. It's too much pressure to the head. Keep your chin tucked and then come to downward facing dog. Again, hold this pose. And breathing here. And then when you're ready, you step your left foot forward, you step your right foot forward. Instead of lengthening up through the spine as we normally do, you bend the knees and sit into a squat. Bring your hands into prayer and then rise up to stand and release the hands by the sides. Take an inhale and exhale. Beautiful, just opening the eyes. So that's a lovely way to modify your sun salutation, and you can do everything else through the practice. Of course, when you're coming into warrior one, for example, from your downward facing dog, when you step forward for your warrior one, you tap your back heel down. Now you don't want to just suddenly come up because you might feel dizzy. So what you do is you just place your hands on your knees and you lift yourself up, keeping the chin down, and then you can bring the arms up. If the arms up are too much, just cactus through the arms. And always move on an inhalation. Always lift up on an inhalation, so you're drawing the breath in, and take it a little slower and think about, instead of throwing your head up and down a lot, think about keeping almost like you're holding a tennis ball underneath the chin. So from here, another beautiful pose to practice if you're suffering from hypertension or low blood pressure is your fish pose. And with fish pose, it's controlled how we move into it. So we're not throwing the head back. We slowly come onto our backs. And then what we do is we bring the hands down by the sides, lift your hips up and walk your hands in underneath. Now it's as if you want to hide your arms underneath the body. So you straighten through the legs and you lift up a little onto the elbows and bring them right in underneath the body. So you already have a lifted chest here. This is really good. Then you begin to lean back onto the crown of the head. And you take a couple of breaths here. Stretching out the neck, stimulating blood flow to the brain. Energize your legs. So if you just let the legs go, you're dropping into the back of the neck. You've got to energize your legs, lift the spine, and then take the head back. To come out of this, it's mindful and it's slow. You just tuck your chin first. Release down, bend your knees, and then release your arms. And take a moment here again. If you're able to feel, you'll notice like a tingling feeling in the side of the neck up to the crown of the head as you're changing that pressure and that blood flow, but in a mindful way. So when you're coming out of a class, coming from lying on your back to standing, often you'll hug your legs in and rock and roll back and forward and then come up and over. But that's not great to do those sudden movements if you have blood pressure and you low blood pressure and you feel dizzy. So what you do is to come out, you just roll to your side. Press up through your supporting hand. Come up to seated and then make your way up to stand mindfully. The next pose that is really great for low blood pressure is shoulder stand. And any variation of shoulder stand is good. So perhaps you want to start in your plow pose, so with the hands down by the side, navel drawing in, tuck your chin, don't move your head left and right, so glue your head into the shape, and then just roll your legs over. So that's the plow pose, and in your plow pose you'll press your hands into the earth and reach your legs backwards. Never move your head in plow pose. And sometimes the feet hover, and that's okay. I'll demonstrate. But when you are here, you energize through the feet and just bring them towards the earth. And sometimes it can be handy to have a block or a bolster behind you to place your feet on. And that will give you that connection of the feet to the floor. So when you're ready, just roll over. And then when you find the block, you're able to activate into your toes, and that'll strengthen through your legs. So you don't ever just want to fold and have the legs as a weight. You always want to have that activation through the muscles hugging to the bones, the legs activated. It's not a tightness, it's not a squeezing, it's more like a lengthening and an activation. Full shoulder stand is lovely, where you can take your hands behind the back body, working your elbows in. And again, hold that for a couple of breaths. And when you come out really slowly. So again, no moving your head left and right, doing the shape, hands down by the sides, legs go up. And then pressing through the hands, you roll your legs over. And when you come out, just stop with the feet up and feel again the circulation, the pressure changing in the brain, but in a mindful way, restoring a healthy blood pressure. Dropping your feet down, and again, if you're coming up, you're going to roll onto your side and support your head. Now, if shoulder stand and plow pose are not available to you, you can still get all the benefits by practicing PAWANMUKTASANA, our happy baby pose. And you know, sometimes when the blood pressure is low, we don't even feel we have the energy to go into a shoulder stand. Then do this one. And remember, the practice of yoga is about ways to restore health and balance in the body. It's not about finding any one particular pose. We can get so lost in our attachment and desire to do certain poses that we forget about the reason for practicing yoga, to restore health and balance in the body. Now what's lovely about this pose as well is that this drawing down of the thigh towards the internal organs and the tightness of the two thighs hugging the side ribs, is there's a lovely compression that happens in our internal organs, our digestive system, and that can also help to regulate the blood flow through the body, and that can help to regulate our blood pressure. And remember, stay in poses as long as feels comfortable, as long as you need. And then when you're ready, you can release the legs up, take the hands down, and then just bring the feet to the floor. You can take the knees apart, whatever you need, and then just pause. And you know, this little space after your poses, it's kind of where the magic happens, when you come out of this pose safely and then you sit in this little space, and it's in that gap that the magic happens as the body begins to reset. So try never to rush from one pose to the other. It's different when we're in a vinyasa flow, then there's a different intent to the practice. But if you're practicing more slowly like this, take the time in between the poses. Roll back over to your side and then come up to seated. So that's just a little bit of guidance to assist you if you're suffering from low blood pressure. Always listen to your body, practice mindfully, and the lower your blood pressure, the slower you need to move. But do move, do the poses, and you'll notice your blood pressure over time will begin to regulate with the application of this practice. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Namaste.